Hey everyone, it's Billy Hale and we are back for video 2 of the ToneShaper for the Les Paul. In video 1 I went over prepping your Les Paul for the install, and then we went through all the different parts of getting the ToneShaper in your guitar. And now we're to the fun part, which is seeing all the tonal options that we get from the ToneShaper. I want to thank ToneShaper for sending me a unit out to evaluate, and you know, right now this Les Paul is kind of my go-to guitar, and when I saw that it came out I had to have it, and I'm excited to have it in here now. You're going to come out of it, you're going to get everything installed, and then you're going to want to play, and if all your mini switches are off, you're not going to hear anything because those mini switches are now controlling everything in your guitar cavity. So the first thing I would do is pick if you want dependent or independent volume. I like independent volume because with dependent, if you turn the volume all the way down on one of the other pickups, it'll shut the whole guitar off, and that can never be good. So if you look on screen now, you'll see what the diagram looks like for picking independent or dependent volume. We'll turn those on real quick. And as soon as you hit the switches, you can hear your pickups picking up. So that's our bridge, and now let's check our neck. So now we're good. That means we're ready to move into all the other things we can do. The first thing I would pick would be pots. You can pick a 500K pot or a 300K pot. Almost everything I run has a 500K. You have the option to go 300, like if on the P90 you thought a 300 would work better, that's your option. I personally hate 300K pots, so I'm going to leave it alone and live at the 500K. And on screen now you can see the diagram for those two. But then I'm going to move us into the next phase, and that is going to be modern versus vintage wiring. I have always been a vintage wiring type of guy. That's always where I go. And the great part is with the ToneShaper is I tried out vintage and I tried out modern, and I guess I found out that I like modern better. And the only reason I know that is I was able to A/B it right next to each other. So we go in the cavity here. And now we're on modern wiring. And they're on the lovely bridge. And you know, I can quickly jump off of that and go to vintage. So we'll click these two off. Click that one on. So now, as quickly, we're at vintage. So to me, I can hear a difference. It might not be audible on the video, but there's a subtle difference. To me, the modern sounds a little hotter, a little rounder to me, and the vintage sounds vintage. Neither one of them are bad. I guess it's just your option as to which you want to do. So we've talked about the pots, we've talked about vintage versus modern, independent versus dependent, and that takes us to my favorite. I have a humbucker here in the bridge, and it's a 4-wire humbucker, which allows me some options with the ToneShaper. They sent the push-pull tone knob, which allows me to choose between north coil on, you got to pick one of the three, south coil on, or both coils in parallel. So let's run through that real quick. First we'll go with the north coil on. Okay, now we've got north coil on, and this should be pretty dramatic. We'll start out normal. And we'll switch. So that's pretty hot. Now, you know, it definitely cuts a little bit. Let's turn that north coil off and turn the south coil on. Alright. This is a south coil, so it's got to be a little bit better, don't you think? Alright. Oh, and then we're going to go to my favorite, which is the parallel. Both coils on in parallel. To me, this should be fatter and louder and still give me a tonal change, you know, when I'm looking for something a little bit different or maybe something for a lead. So we're in normal position. Now we're both in parallel. You know, man, I think the South might win on it. I don't know. I'll have to figure that one out. I'm thinking probably South coil. And then we come to another interesting part, which actually will change the way a lot of things sound, is the capacitor values. So I've been an oil and cap guy for a long time, and I usually run 022s. But with this, you can pick whatever capacitor you want. Now, my P90, if you jump on the internet, some guys will say a lot of different capacitors they suggest for a P90. For a humbucker, 022 is usually where they land. But the great part about this is you're able to jump in here and let's say you pick an 010 pot. So it's as simple as jumping into the ToneShaper. So now we're running an 010. Immediately from there jump up to a 022, which would be for me a standard, you know, place to be. Just turn those off and go 022. So now we're running 022s. And then finally, let's jump. I'm not going to do them all, but we'll jump to the 047 and see what that thing sounds like. So it's 2, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so here's an 047. I've never run an 047, and I've got to say that I'm kind of liking it. But once again, you pick whatever you want. That's the beauty. And that's it. So ultimately, you get to pick. You know, is it worth that money to you to have all these tonal options in a situation where you can turn one off and turn one on? For me, it is. This is my favorite guitar. I swap pickups quite a bit. And I'm always, it's kind of my, it's the guitar I play all the time, but it's also the guitar I like to work on a lot because it's easy. And so with this thing, I can go and throw in and out pickups as I please, and I'll be able to get back here with the ToneShaper and make them sound the way I want them to sound. Easily. Keyword. Easily. So that's it. This is what the ToneShaper has to offer. You know, a lot of guys I know like their caps and their wire and their solder, and to me it's electricity or signals running through wire, one way or the other. And if it sounds good coming out of my amp, then you know that's all I really care about. And I had her cranked up last night, and it sounded as good as it's ever sounded. That's it. This is the ToneShaper. I want to thank everyone from Acme for sending me this unit to demo. I love it. It will live in my favorite Les Paul forever. And you can visit them at toneshapers.com. You know, they have things like this for tellies and strats and a lot of other pieces that are great. They also do guitars, which are pretty trick. And I'm Billy Hale, of course. And you can visit me at billyhale.com and see what I'm up to. I just, you know, if I see something that I'm into, I'll take a video and talk about it and throw it out there. I'm a guitar picker just like y'all. And, you know, I just hang out at the house and mess around with guitars and amps and have fun. And that's it. Thank you, ToneShaper.